Ever wonder why some SUVs are so overbuilt? Why they have features that seem completely unnecessary for driving to the grocery store? It's because they weren't designed for grocery stores. The average person has no idea that some of the most popular vehicles on the road today started their lives on battlefields. We're talking actual military contracts, actual war zones, actual combat. And the craziest part? The automakers don't really hide it. They just don't advertise it. So today, I'm showing you 10 cars that have legitimate military DNA. Some of these you might know. Others are going to surprise you. Let's go. Let's start with one most people don't know about, the Mitsubishi Pajero. In the 1970s, Mitsubishi was building military vehicles for the Japanese self-defense forces. Rugged, simple, designed to go anywhere. Then they thought, why not make a civilian version? The Pajero went on to dominate the Paris-Dakar rally. 12 wins. 12. But it never forgot where it came from. That boxy design, military practicality, that ridiculous ground clearance, military requirement, the simplicity of the drivetrain. So a soldier could fix it in the field with basic tools. And here's something wild. While soccer moms were driving these to practice in the 90s, military versions were still being used in conflict zones across Asia and the Middle East. Same basic platform, different mission. You thought you were buying a family SUV. Mitsubishi thought they were selling you a demilitarized reconnaissance vehicle. The Dodge Power Wagon. Today, it's a $70,000 luxury truck with leather seats and a touchscreen. But in 1945, it was something completely different. The WC series. Dodge built over 250,000 of these for World War II. They carried weapons, supplies, wounded soldiers. They were everywhere from North Africa to the Pacific Islands. When the war ended, Dodge realized they had the perfect design for a civilian truck. Farmers needed something tough. Construction crews needed something reliable. So in 1946, they just kept building it. Same chassis, same drivetrain, same military-grade durability. They barely changed anything. They added a civilian bed, slapped some chrome on it, and called it the Power Wagon. Veterans who drove these in combat could buy essentially the same truck to use on their farms. Today's Power Wagon, it still has features that came from that military DNA. Front and rear lockers, massive articulation, a disconnecting sway bar that would make sense in a war zone. It's built like a truck that's supposed to survive a war, because its grandfather did. Okay, you probably haven't heard of UAZ, unless you've been to Russia. This is the vehicle the Soviet military used for decades. Still uses, actually, and you can buy one. Well, if you're in Russia or certain other countries, it's basically the Soviet Jeep, except it never got fancy, it never got comfortable. It stayed exactly what it was, a military vehicle you can register. No leather, no heated seats, no sound deadening. The interior is literally just metal and rubber. Just a box on wheels that will outlive you, your children, and possibly your grandchildren. The UAZ 469 has been in production since 1972, 53 years, the same design. Because when the military likes something, they don't mess with it. It's on this list because it's the purest example of we didn't even try to hide the military roots. There's no civilian version and military version, there's just the UAZ. Take it or leave it. Okay, this one gets uncomfortable. The Volkswagen Beetle, the people's car, the hippie van, the love bug. It was commissioned by Adolf Hitler in the 1930s. The KDF-Wagen, Kraft durch Freude, strength through joy. It was supposed to be affordable transportation for every German family. Part of a larger propaganda initiative, the factory that built Beetles, it built military vehicles during the war, Kübelwagens, the German equivalent of the Jeep. The design? It was meant to motorize Germany and support the war effort. Ferdinand Porsche designed it. Yes, that Porsche. After the war, the British took over the factory. They rebranded it, stripped away the dark history, and turned it into one of the most beloved cars ever made. The British Army actually used it as basic transportation in post-war Germany. Then they handed the factory to the Germans and said, make this for everyone. And somehow it worked. It's a strange redemption story. A vehicle designed for a horrific regime became a symbol of peace, love, and counterculture. Over 21 million were built. It became the car of the people, just not the way Hitler intended. History is weird like that. The Peugeot 205, rally legend, one of the best hot hatches ever made. But before Peugeot was winning rally championships, they were fulfilling French military contracts. They'd been building vehicles for the French army since World War I. The 205's development was partially funded by military vehicle projects. The engineering lessons, the durability testing, the punishment these cars could take, that came from military requirements. Peugeot knew how to build things that survived because they'd been building things that had to survive. When they designed the 205 in the early 80s, they brought that same philosophy. Lightweight, tough, simple to repair, could handle terrible roads because they'd spent decades building cars for terrible roads. Then they took that military-grade durability and created the 205 T16. One of the most insane rally cars ever. Mid-engine, all-wheel drive, barely street legal, military toughness, rally aggression, wrapped in a tiny French hatchback that looked like your aunt's grocery getter. Wait, Lamborghini? Yes, Lamborghini. Before they made supercars, Lamborghini made tractors. Everyone knows that. But in 1977, they tried to win a U.S. military contract. They partnered with Mobility Technology International and built the Lamborghini Cheetah, a military off-road vehicle. Rear-mounted Chrysler 5.8, designed to compete for the contract that would eventually go to AM General for the Humvee. It was fast, it was light, it had that mid-engine layout Lamborghini loved, and it was terrible. The weight distribution was all wrong. The prototype rolled over during testing. The project died almost immediately, but Lamborghini didn't give up. They took what they learned and built the LM002, the Rambo Lambo, a V12-powered SUV that was somehow both a military vehicle and a luxury car. They pitched it to militaries. Nobody bought it, so they sold it to rich people instead. 7.2-liter V12, 450 horsepower in 1986, in a truck. Only Lamborghini could fail at making a military vehicle and accidentally create the world's first supercar SUV and charge $120,000 for it. The Mercedes G-Class, the G-Wagen, the $200,000 status symbol of Instagram influencers and professional athletes. It was designed because the Shah of Iran asked Mercedes to build him a military vehicle in the 1970s. Iran wanted 20,000 units. Mercedes said yes and partnered with Steyr Daimler Puch in Austria to build it. Those portal axles, the ones that give it insane ground clearance, military requirement. They raise the differential up so you can drive over bigger obstacles without smashing your undercarriage. That body-on-frame construction, military durability, you can repair it with simple tools in the field. That boxy angular design, so it's easy to repair in the field with flat panels. No complex curves that need specialized equipment to fix. And here's the thing, NATO militaries still use the G-Wagen, the actual military version. The German army, the Austrian army, the Norwegian army, they all use them. While you're paying $200,000 for the AMG version with massage seats and a Burmester sound system. The military spec weighs 2,000 pounds less, has manual everything, cloth seats, no computers, costs about $30,000. You're paying $170,000 for luxury, on top of a vehicle designed to invade a country. Every G-Wagen on Rodeo Drive is a decorated soldier wearing a tuxedo. The Hummer, the vehicle that defined excess in the 2000s. But it started as the HMMWV, High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle, Humvee. AM General won the contract in 1981. And by 1985, they were delivering them to the military. This thing became famous during the Gulf War. Americans watched these on TV every night. Tough, capable, unstoppable. They replaced the Jeep. That's how good they were. Then Arnold Schwarzenegger saw one during the filming of a movie. He wanted one. He called AM General and basically harassed them until they agreed to make a civilian version. This is not an exaggeration. Arnold made the Hummer happen through sheer force of will. The H1 launched in 1992. It was basically a military Humvee with leather seats and air conditioning. 6.5 turbo diesel, 16 inches of ground clearance. It could ford 30 inches of water. It was 7 feet wide and got 10 miles per gallon if you were lucky. Then GM bought the brand in 1999 and made the H2 and H3. Softer, weaker, more civilian, based on truck platforms instead of military ones. The H2 was just a Tahoe in a costume. But here's what's wild. The military kept using the real ones. Over 280,000 HMMWVs were built for the military. They're still in service. While the H2 crowd was getting 8 miles per gallon driving to Whole Foods, actual Humvees were in Iraq and Afghanistan getting shot at. And now, the Hummer is back as an EV. 1,000 horsepower, 9,000 pounds, zero military heritage, just the name and the width. Land Rover, the British icon, the Defender, the vehicle that explored the world. It was designed in 1947 by Maurice Wilks, chief designer at Rover. Britain was broke after World War II. Steel was rationed. The country needed agricultural vehicles but couldn't import Jeeps anymore. So Wilks took a surplus Jeep, studied it, and built his own version on his farm. He used aluminum for the body because steel was too expensive and rationed for the war recovery. Aluminum was available from the aircraft industry. That's why Defenders don't rust. Not by design genius, by post-war necessity. They couldn't get steel, so they used aluminum, and accidentally made them nearly indestructible. The first Land Rover was supposed to be a stopgap product, just something to keep the company alive for a few years. They planned to build it for 2 or 3 years, then go back to making luxury cars. It stayed in production for 67 years. The British military loved it. So did every military that wanted an alternative to the Jeep. The British Army still uses them. Over 70% of all Land Rovers ever built are still in use today. Let that sink in. The SAS turned them into desert patrol vehicles. Pink Panthers, called that because they were painted pink for desert camouflage in North Africa and the Middle East. They stripped them down, added weapons mounts, and used them for long-range reconnaissance. That go-anywhere reputation, earned in military service across every terrain on Earth, those insane approach and departure angles, military requirements, that modular design where everything can be replaced, so you can fix it in the middle of nowhere with basic tools. Every Defender you see has DNA from vehicles that served in conflicts around the world. That's not marketing. That's literally its bloodline. Number 1. It has to be the Jeep. The vehicle that defined what a 4x4 even is. The vehicle that every other off-roader gets compared to. In 1940, the U.S. Army needed a lightweight reconnaissance vehicle. Something fast, tough, and small. They gave 3 companies 49 days to build a prototype. 49 days. That's 7 weeks to design and build a vehicle from scratch. Bantam, Willys, and Ford competed. The requirements were insane. Under 1,300 pounds. 75-inch wheelbase. 47 horsepower. All-wheel drive. Foldable windshield. Cost, $739 per unit. Bantam technically won with the first prototype, but they were too small to handle production. So the Army gave the contract to Willys and Ford, and then made all 3 companies share the design. Peak wartime efficiency, Willys won the main contract and then proceeded to build 360,000 Jeeps during World War II. Ford built another 280,000 under license. 640,000 Jeeps in 4 years. These things did everything. Reconnaissance, weapons platforms, ambulances, communication vehicles. They were dropped from planes with parachutes. They drove through jungles in the Pacific. They crossed deserts in North Africa. They liberated Europe. General Eisenhower said the Jeep was one of the 3 tools that won the war. The other 2 were the C-47 cargo plane and the atom bomb. Not a tank, not a bomber. The Jeep. Think about that. The Supreme Allied Commander put the Jeep in the same category as the weapon that ended the war. After the war, Willys made a civilian version, the CJ, civilian Jeep. Farmers bought them, ranchers bought them, Veterans who drove them in combat bought them because they knew how tough they were. Every Wrangler, every Gladiator, every Jeep with round headlights and a 7-slot grille, they're all descendants of that $739 weapons carrier. That 7-slot grille? That's from the original Willys design. It's trademarked. Jeep owns the rights to a grille design from 1941. You can draw a direct line from a vehicle that liberated Europe to the one you see at Starbucks with the Jeep in vanity plate. That's not heritage marketing, that's actual heritage. So that's the list. 10 vehicles with military roots that most people don't know about. Next time you see one of these on the road, you'll know the real story. Not the marketing version, the actual history. Thanks for watching.